Thank you so much for listening to the Voice of Job Seekers. This is Mark, your host. If you're looking to conduct a modern job search, you've come to the right show. I bring relatable voices and advice to the unemployed, underemployed, and underappreciated members of the workforce. I try to hack and reimagine the new job search and provide techniques and tools to the modern job seeker. If you want to conduct a modern job search and you don't know where to begin, then get my free job search guide at bit.ly/118 job search tips. I'll include a link in the show. Today's guest is my friend Bob McIntosh. He's a LinkedIn trainer, workshop facilitator, and LinkedIn profile and resume consultant with the Career Center of Lowell in Massachusetts. And today, we're talking about one of the things that Bob loves to talk about, and that's LinkedIn. And particularly, we're talking about the new features that are best for the job search. But first, how you doing, Bob?
Hey, how are you doing, Marcus? How are you doing?
I'm
I
doing
called you
great.
Marcus. Sorry.
That's all right. It's just
That's
Mark.
right.
I've had all kinds of names called me over the time, but
Right, right.
Mark is fine.
I like
Um, yes. So, you know, you know as well the shows about job seekers, and we're
that.
trying
Absolutely.
to just narrow down a few tools that might be the best for them. If we could just take them one by one, that'll be great. So, your first tool that you feel like is very useful out of the new features for job seekers in LinkedIn.
Well, I think in terms of looking for people on LinkedIn, a really great tool is the connections of, which is in the filter area of people search. And I
Mm-hmm.
like this feature because it allows you to choose, say, an authority such as yourself and see which connections you have and which connections that a job seeker may want to connect with. So when you go to the people search and click features, rather filter all, and then you'll see that there's an expanded page and you can filter all sorts of information such as location, degree of connections, um, title,
Mm-hmm.
and but then you see connections of, and that's where I say you can type in someone's name like yourself, and I can see your connections, and then I can further narrow it down in terms of title. So let's say I want to see the project managers that you're connected with.
Mm-hmm.
In that way, I can see them, and then if I want to send an invite to them, I can perhaps use your name as a referral,
Mm-hmm.
reference rather.
Right.
So I think that's a really cool feature.
Yeah, I think so too. And I've seen even as you begin to look through how people are finding you, that's a way
Hmm.
to also kind of get an idea of how you can look for other people. Like if you want to put in a name, plus, like for you, I would put in perhaps Bob McIntosh plus resume or plus CPRW. And
Hmm.
that way I can find not only you and your qualifications, but also your connections as they may have as their certified professional resume writers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think, in terms of finding people on LinkedIn, LinkedIn makes it very easy to do it. And,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people may see LinkedIn as a huge Rolodex. Well, you and I know that it's meant to network professionally online.
Sure.
So, but in order to do that, you need to identify the right people to connect with.
Right.
And so this feature that I just mentioned, connections of, it's a new one that LinkedIn came up with, and it's available to the basic member. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have a premium account, but it is available to the basic members. So that's I think the one that comes to mind the most
Yeah.
is that one.
Yeah. I think outside of people who are just trying to sell,
Right.
um, that's one that people can use a little bit more, not just to find people and the connections, but if you're looking to find people who have position like yours, and you want to see
Hmm.
what they're doing, and maybe just try to catch up in what your industry is doing, then you can use that connections and to be able to look, not to be afraid to be seen, of course,
Right,
but
right,
just to
right.
kind of use it as research so you can figure out maybe what's a more contemporary way of positioning yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another feature that comes to mind is the video
Mm-hmm.
feature, and this is something that LinkedIn announced somewhere around a year ago, maybe longer, and it's a feature that many people can take advantage of, providing they have the right resources and they are good at filming themselves. So I can see that beneficial to job seekers, especially if they are able to film themselves and they have the
Mm-hmm.
right equipment. But if not, if they're not able to do that, then it could be more disastrous. So,
Right.
that's a feature. I don't know. Have you ever tried that feature?
I have not tried it yet. I am working towards it, though.
Yeah, I know.
It's if you already create content, it's real easy to just go ahead and be able to get on there a little bit. The other half is just having the nerve to do it. But I think the
Right, right,
lighting is
right.
almost a non-issue in the sense of having a smartphone and some sun and having the sun not right behind you,
Oh, absolutely.
you can actually get some you can get a decent 2 or 3 minute little video if someone wants. You don't even really have to have the high end smartphone in order to do it. You don't
Not
have
at
to have
all.
an iPhone. You can have an Android. You can have an AT&T phone. It doesn't matter as
Right,
long as
right.
you have those. But the audio is probably the most important component of it all.
Yes, yes. And also the message that you're delivering.
Yes.
So for a job seeker, let's say the person wants to deliver their 30-second commercial. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good enough time to dedicate to a video. Then that person has to know their commercial down pat, and it really needs to bring out the value that that person has to offer.
Right. Yeah, I think we've both seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of people videoing not being prepared, knowing what to say, or that they say too much of the same thing over and over again and give the person that's viewing a sense of are you experimenting or you're sending me a subliminal message?
That's right. That's right. Um, you know, uh, in terms of looking for work, LinkedIn has also done a very good job of bringing in features like Easy Apply.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not familiar with that, it's a say you're applying for a job, and you can attach your resume to this Easy Apply, and then you can send your profile through to companies. And I think a lot of companies are really interested in seeing your profile, maybe more so than your resume. So I like that feature as well. And when a company is supporting it, because when you look for work on the jobs feature,
Mm-hmm.
you choose, say, a position like accountant, and you see that little easy apply icon next to it, then you know that company is supporting it. Um,
The easy apply, I don't know how it comes out on the other end. I'm always suspicious of anything that may have
right.
that kind of feels like a job board. But would you recommend people using that particular button, or the, any cautions to using the apply button?
Well, I mean, if they're not capable or they're not willing to network, which would be the proper way of trying to connect with someone in a company, then the easy apply feature is nice. Now, from what I understand, what comes through at the end is, the connections you share in common with the recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
That's important to the recruiter, because then the recruiter can, of course, check out the people you have common connections with. Also, your current position, your past position, your skills and endorsements. So, recruiters can see all that information and then make a decision on whether or not they want to check you out any further. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of a, of course, in any case, as a job seeker, you want to make sure that you have a profile that's fully filled out at an all-star level, of course, at least
right.
at minimum.
Hmm.
But even more so, uh, do practice caution when you're using any of those automated tools that are on there, because um, and just listen to conversations that people are having. That are they getting? Do you hear people having a little success, or maybe they're not hearing anything at all using it, and they've applied to a few jobs? I mean, listen out. It's going to be probably different per industry.
Right, exactly.
But I think the one thing that just got to learn to listen, and you're seeing more people turned off than on, then maybe use the connections, which is
Hmm.
always better to do first
Oh,
anyway.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, your how about the salary insights?
Well, the
Yeah.
salary insights, that's a nice little feature as well.
Hmm.
The thing about that is you may not be able to find your specific title. And I'm saying that because that's what's happened with me is when I type in, say, workshop facilitator,
Hmm.
nothing comes up for that. I type in career workshop facilitator and nothing comes up for that. So you have to have a very common title in order to use that feature. And what it does is it gives you pretty much a salary that would be accurate to your location and your particular title.
Hmm.
If you want to really find out what your value in the labor market is, then salary.com can do that just as well, maybe if not better.
Yeah, salary.com, glassdoor.com,
Yeah,
payscale.com. Those are the three
right.
big ones, and they publish every few months some type of salary study. And
Hmm.
you want somebody that publishes on a regular basis as opposed to a site that may publish every couple of years, then it wouldn't be accurate. And sometimes you might find that title might have disappeared from the choices that you have.
This is true. This is true. Uh, Now, messaging,
Mm-hmm.
I like messaging. I think I've grown used to it. Have you grown used to it?
I've grown used to it and kind of treat it not
Remember
completely
how
like.
it was where we would just get individual messages, like not completely.
Hmm.
I kind of like it. I like the fact that you can keep a stream of the conversation going, and you can refer. You shared, for instance, if you and I were beginning when I spoke with you. One thing I'm really not fond of, and I told you this earlier, are the easy buttons
Hmm.
or the Snapchat,
Right.
you know, that you were mentioning. And I think, in essence, it just makes people lazy.
Yeah.
You know, they don't type a full response back. They might just click LOL or, thank you.
Yeah. And I was about to say people need to treat it not like their text.
Right,
It's real
exactly.
easy because when you get the notification, it appears like you would a text, and except it has the LinkedIn logo. I think it depends on your contact, your familiarity, but just in when you're talking with somebody who you're trying to network with to get a job, or you're
Hmm.
networking with the actual employer or somebody who influences that, you want to be more on the formal side and not the
Oh,
casual
absolutely.
one.
Right, exactly. That won't come across too professional if you're particularly, if you're communicating with an employer, um, a wave or so. That's not going to come across as professional. That's a good point there.
Yeah, and I think too is that they have the canned responses like the okay Bob,
Right, right,
thanks, the
right.
thumbs up, those kind of things.
My
Definitely,
pleasure.
yeah, keep in mind your audience for
Right,
sure. Uh,
absolutely.
the Now there's a difference between the messaging and the chat messenger.
Hmm. Not familiar exactly what you're talking about there, but
Well, I guess there is no difference, but I notice there's a different dynamic and experience on the desktop as opposed to the phone, as opposed to the
Oh
tablet.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's a little clunky when you're trying to expand your messenger and you want to see a whole message. Uh, it doesn't always put you in the bubble where you had the conversation.
Right, right.
And so to me, it's kind of awkward in that particular sense. And sometimes I like the fact that they include the past conversation you had with someone so you can
Mhm.
see, check the context. At the same time, it causes a logistical problem. Sometimes when you're trying to respond, am I responding to the current question or the one from the past?
Exactly.
And you got to double check.
Yeah, in some ways the phone is more advanced than the desktop or laptop
Yes.
version, particularly with video, because you can, like you mentioned earlier, you can video yourself using your phone and just place it on LinkedIn. But I don't know. I think LinkedIn is sort of veering the laptop desktop version to the phone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it looks similar to the icons you may see on the phone. And matter of fact, I think they're identical to the icons on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those are the icons that appeared first on the phone, and then
Right.
LinkedIn started using them on their desktop and laptop version. Um,
Right. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the
sure.
analytics. Um, the analytics, I think, to some degree, is a little on the annoying side. I don't know
Uh
what
huh.
your, yeah, I don't know what your opinion is. I can only imagine, but the analytics it's a double-edged sword. There's some things that
Yeah.
are useful, and then there's some things that are not, and then they change the way things work without telling us.
Oh, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
and we don't even necessarily get announcements except for later. So, oh, we changed the way that we count like views or the way that we
Right,
count
right.
the people who you're connected with.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't really want to go there, but if you're speaking about the views, when you look at the analytics, sometimes they can depress you because you have this valley and peaks of views,
Mm-hmm.
and you could drop down 200% in terms of the last week's views, and
Mm-hmm.
then you could bring it up about 85%. You can see the people in various industries who viewed you, or you can see the industries rather that have viewed you. In terms of views, in terms of finding people, that is something that I wish we would have back as the unlimited search, and
Mm-hmm.
that went away a while ago.
Right.
But the only way to get that back is by getting the business upgrade, and I'm currently trying that right now.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about the business upgrade is that now they allow the much of the career features that the career package has. So it's my guess that they're probably going to go, they're going to abandon the career premium and stick with the business, which is a
Mm-hmm.
difference of $30. $30 for the career a month, and then $60 for the business a month. Um, one of the features that both provide are who's viewed your profile in the past 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that used to be pretty interesting to me, but I tell you, I couldn't spend all day just looking at the people who's viewed my profile. So in terms of analytics, I don't know if much of what they show us is all that important.
Right. Right. So we definitely get a check for the connections, for the video,
Hmm.
search for jobs, and the messenger. The salary insights are pretty useful. All that's pretty relevant to the job search. Correct?
Yes, I would agree. Absolutely. Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. Anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No, I would. I appreciate you having me on, and I think that LinkedIn is trying its best to make the experience as pleasant as possible, but I think it's trying to find its way as well. And one thing you mentioned about how they change their features around without being told, that can be frustrating.
Yeah, I think people do find it, especially if it's a useful, if it's
Yeah,
a
right.
use, if it's a useful feature,
Yeah,
and then they change it around. We understand that they got to make money. We kind of get that. It'll be good to kind of either replace it with something similar or tell us why they're changing it. I mean, it would be kind of be refreshing so that we can make a little bit more money. We're changing this to our premium
right.
model, and but you guys can use something else like this instead.
Hmm. I know you have a blog, and I have a blog myself,
Hmm.
and one of the things that LinkedIn has pulled, which I'm not too pleased about, is that they've taken the share number off of their share button. So,
Yes.
for instance, people go to your blog and they no longer see that your article has been shared 300 times, 400, 1,000 times.
Hmm.
They just see nothing. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I don't know why
That's
LinkedIn did that.
Well, I don't either, but they
Just,
went the way of Twitter. Twitter altered their
yeah,
API,
yeah,
and
right,
now what used to be an intriguing part of social media has become not as relevant according to those platform holders.
right,
Um,
right.
and no telling with people coming back to blogging, supposedly. This is
Hmm.
rushed to come back to blogging, and you and I never went away, but
No, no,
but
and I'm not going to
but
go away.
maybe that will have an influence. But thanks, Bob, for coming on the show. Your blog is thingscareerrelated.com. And if you
Yes.
watch my timeline, I probably share something from that blog at least once a week.
Thank
And
you.
enjoyed having you on the show, enjoyed being connected to you, and an honor to have you on the show.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, and thanks to the rest of you who are joining us via demand. You can catch us on any podcast catcher that you'd like, particularly iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeart, and Spotify are the big ones where you'll find the podcast, The Voice of Job Seekers. Thanks so much. You guys have a great week. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.